Kathy has been with me for, I don't even know, 5 years, 4 years. It's been
Something
a
like
while.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a few.
it's just a couple months. So we're just gonna kind of dive into all things Kathy. We're just gonna dive into her story and get to know a little bit more about her, the process, and what her next set of goals are. So Kathy, I'm so excited to have you on this. So I'm just gonna have you start, and just kind of fill people in on your background. I know we've had long talks, and I know that your story is pretty fascinating, so we can definitely get into the weeds, but just give everyone just kind of a brief overview of your story, your background, and we'll dive in from there.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, first of all. I grew up here in Springfield, Missouri, and I ended up going into the Air Force as an Air Force bandsman for 27 years. I retired. I came back to Springfield and went to seminary, received my Master of Divinity. So, of course, being in the Air Force for all of those years, I did lots of physical training and was very much in shape and wanted to continue that after I had retired. But, as you're sitting and studying and doing a lot of that, it tends to fall by the wayside. So I had tried various things to try to, keep myself motivated and going. Had worked with a couple of different trainers. I ended up having some shoulder pain that I'd had for many years from my flute playing and was seeing someone. And so I started working out there. And then I got in with somebody else. Well, he was the one that ended up passing me on to you. So that's how I came to be with you. And it's been great. I love it. I love the accountability. I love that I don't have to think about what I'm going to do, because if I were trying to think about every time, every day I go into the gym, I probably wouldn't be doing it. So I like that I have my app, I open it up, there's my workout. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do for the day. I know you guys are going to check it, and that keeps me motivated to keep going. So it's been great. I've been able to do things now that lifting weights that I have never been able to lift before. So that's been a real big progress for me.
That was awesome. Yeah. You always hear people say like, "Oh, once you're in your 30s, things start going downhill." And you're just a couple of years older than 30, but obviously you're proving everybody wrong with that. So that's awesome. And I know.
That's been my goal. That's my goal because I've seen so many people that have aged and the all of the physical problems creep up very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm in my 60s, early 60s, but I'm in my 60s and I'm still biking and running and swimming and lifting and doing all of the things. But that's my goal, is not so much how much weight can I lift, but how long can I maintain my body in good condition as I continue the aging process, because I want to be, in my 80s and even 90s, hopefully still walking and doing all of the things that I want to do. So that's my goal, is to stay as healthy as I can for as long as I can.
Yeah. And I think you're obviously well on your way. And I know, not to get too much into the personal weeds, but you do have, some very big motivating factors, just kind of the experiences you've had in making sure that you do stay healthy for the long haul. I think when people have like a deeper why as to, why they want to do something, it helps to keep them on track. It helps to keep them motivated and everything like that. And so I know we've had many discussions about, just continuing and why. And I know, whenever you said, that I'm going to check the app, or John's going to check the app, we've had that conversation a couple times. It's like, I didn't want to do my workout today, but I know that you're going to check it and
Exactly.
say something. So, um,
I refuse to have you look in there and see that I didn't get it done. So
so
that motivates me to get it done.
you even told on yourself right before this call, like, hey, it's been a crazy week. Haven't had all of my workouts done, but I'm going to get them done. So I guess paint a picture of like the lifts that you're doing now, and kind of the weights that you're doing that you haven't really ever done before.
A lot of it that has really improved for me has been my upper body strength, the bicep curls, the bent over rows. It may not seem like a lot of weight to a lot of your younger lifters, but for me, I'm lifting weights now that I have never been able to do before. I did multiple rounds with multiple reps of 20-pound dumbbells today with bicep curls. I've never been able to do 20s bicep curls. I'm working on 35 pounders for my bent over rows. Barely getting up some of them, but I'm getting there. Bench press is really coming along. I've never been able to bench as much as I have now. So I'm hitting a lot of personal records for me, and I'm starting to see it, and I'm starting to feel it. And I think it's important to realize, to notate that my mom was sick, and you know this story, but my mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's and she has since passed, but she fell a lot. And she would always tell me, oh, you're going to hurt yourself doing lifting all those weights, lifting all those weights. But every time she fell, I could pick her up. And she would always tell me, I'm so glad you've been working out. And to me, that was so huge to be able to take care of her the way that I did, being able to lift her when she fell. And the only reason why I was able to do that was because I had been maintaining and developing my strength along the way.
Yep, 100%. And obviously, this strength stuff is going to continue to carry over so that you do have that healthy aging where, hopefully your balance maintains as you get older, your bone density it maintains as you get older. So, less risk of broken bones because obviously, we know a little bit of that history too. And so just really focusing on the aspects of that healthy aging. Most of the time I have people that come to me, they have a shoulder injury, they have a back injury, whatever. But it's really for you, it's not necessarily about injury, it's preventing those injuries, right? It's what
Right.
can we do to create a healthy system, a healthy body so that you don't have to come see me for an injury
Exactly.
right down the road. And obviously, there was that the little flare up. I don't want to say little, but the flare up that you had and we were able to get through that and obviously you're back to crushing it like it never even happened and
But we can talk about that if you want, the back issues and the hip issues. So to give a backstory on that a little bit, it's been over a year now, I think, that I started having lower back pain and hip pain. And at first I thought maybe it was because I was really overarching my back when I was doing like, bench press and a lot of the different exercises. But then it started radiating down my hip, and it was so painful that scale of 1 to 10, I was rating it as a 9. Everything I did, every way that I sat in my recliner, every time I climbed into my car and sat, even the slightest movement would cause a twinge and radiate pain. I couldn't walk. I normally go out for 3-mile walks in the morning. Every morning, I couldn't go outside and do any walks at all. So everything had pretty much come to a halt. And so you worked with me. I had gone for a massage, and the lady had said, your leg feels like it's really shoved up into your hip. And that's when you gave me the rehab exercises. And that was a game changer. That was a game changer for me. Now I'm back to walking my 3 miles every morning, doing my exercises, hitting my, exceeding my personal records, So, I mean, I don't know where I probably would have been consulting for surgery or something had it not been for the rehab that you provided me. So, very grateful for that.
no, I'm so glad that we got that resolved because it was killing me because obviously you've been a client for so long that now we're great friends and it's like crap, like let's get this thing figured out so you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that that's awesome, and honestly, just insanely proud of the progress that you've made. And I know along the way we've obviously talked bits and pieces of like nutrition. We've talked about habits. We've talked about goals, because that was another thing that, I think we were talking about goals quite a bit there for a little while, because just not really sure where to go, not really sure where to push. And I think you're kind of in this really cool spot where you have trips planned and like you can go and it's no problem. Or, here a couple months ago, we talked about you doing a bike ride with your brother, and just being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. I think that's the really cool thing about, the strength. And obviously you have the time freedom and everything like that, which is so cool. But to be able to have the physical freedom to be able to really do whatever you want at the drop of a hat, I think is awesome. And obviously that's kind of our goal long term, is to maintain that and to continue building on that. So I think that that's really
Yeah, I have been riding my bike occasionally with my brother, so that's been a lot of fun. I still have a goal that I would like to do a triathlon, a mini triathlon maybe. But as you know, I had a friend that was killed on a bike as she was training for a triathlon. And she came to my first triathlon. I went to her first triathlon. We supported each other, and she was only 34. So I would like to eventually do another triathlon in her honor. So that's a goal of mine.
No, I think that that's awesome. And kind of going back to what we talked about, it's like when you have a deep why as to why you want to do something, man, that lights a fire under you like nothing else, right? Because if you were just like, nah, I want to do a triathlon, okay, but you want to do it in memory and in honor of your friend, that was something you guys shared. And I know when that happened, I was like, what was that, a couple of years ago now?
It's just been a little over a year.
Okay. I know we talked about that whenever that happened, and obviously quite rough. And it's never easy to lose someone, but it's one of those things that you can flip and you can honor her and just kind of spread that light about her. So I think that that's cool.
I
So
think the other thing too, Caitlin, that, and this is something that I see you hammer home to us all the time, and I'm so grateful that you do, because it's not just about the strength training. It's all encompassing. It's the nutrition, it's the sleep, it's the emotional. I know I suffer from clinical depression, and I can tell such a difference when I work out and when I don't. It's such a huge difference. So it really helps me emotionally, mentally when I work out. It really changes my mindset and it helps me through my day. It gets those endorphins flowing, it gets everything working, it gets me pumped up. And in order to be able to do that, I have to eat right, and I have to get my sleep, and I have to get my water. And so all of those things that you constantly remind us of are so, so important. And I'm glad that you're there to keep reminding, because we just need those constant reminders to, hey, do this, especially when it's been so incredibly hot. Got to get water, and all of those things. So I'm so grateful that you have this big picture, you have this all-encompassing whole person concept. It's not just here's the exercises, do the exercises, it's a whole person concept. And I think that's so critical in your training.
yeah, no, and I think that's where a lot of healthcare providers can go wrong, is like it's not even them, it's not even their fault. It's, the system's just not designed to be able to go into all those factors, right? And I always call those things like additional factors, right? Because they are very important. However, they're just not talked about as much. I have a guy, you mentioned the hydration aspect. I have a guy that we literally talked about doing electrolytes, a couple packets of them a day. And like the amount that that's shifted his recovery is just insane. Like we could throw whatever at him, but if we're missing like the hydration, if you and I have talked a lot about nutrition, if we're missing those key elements, the rehab, the exercise, it's not going to be as successful. It's not going to be as beneficial if those things aren't dialed in. And I feel like we've probably talked just about as much on those things as we have the exercise and all that. So I'm really happy to hear that. I had zero clue where you were going with that when you first started. I was like, oh, knows what I've been saying, but no, I think that that's awesome. Other than, doing the mini triathlon, obviously the healthy aging, are there any kind of goals that you feel like you're wanting to work towards, or is it mostly those two things and continuing kind of the active lifestyle?
Right now, it's mostly those things. I really want to get to where I really feel like, okay, I'm really in shape. And I know you never feel like you've arrived, there's always more, there's always more. But I have been such a busy person that I've pulled back for a while because we get so busy, and the first thing that gets neglected, are the workouts. And I'm like, I really want to take some time and focus on, like like we were talking, the whole person concept. I need to refocus, regroup, recenter spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, all of those things. And so I'm trying to take some time now to pull back and do that. Now, being retired, it's a lot easier for me to do that. Most of your clients are still probably working and not as flexible with the hours, but it's still important to do that. But that's kind of my goal. And I really want to just be able to go ride my bike with my brother when he calls, go do this, go do that, just be active and feel like I have the energy to do that. And when I'm on my cruise ship, walk the stairs up and down, which we do, just to feel good, just to feel like I can get through my day and not feel like it's a struggle. So, that's kind of my goal right now, is just to kind of refocus and step back and kind of see where I'm at with things right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely love that. And you made the comment about being retired. Up to this point, I think you are probably one of the busiest people that I know. You're always helping someone else. So I love that.
Retired from the Air Force.
I was gonna say you are a busy bee, but I know that you like doing that. And I guess a small plug is up there on my bookshelf. I have a book. Actually, it's on this shelf. It is a book written by you. So that just kind of shows, just how many things you have your hand in. So honestly, like super blessed to know you, and I've loved being a part of your journey for the last 4 or 5 years. I'll have to go back and look at the exact date, but really happy to be in your corner, have you in my corner, and just be a part of life with you. So anyway, I appreciate
Well,
you coming on.
thank you very much. I'm the one that is blessed to have you in my life because you keep me going. So,
I guess one last question before we hop off. If anyone's listening and they think that they're too old to get stronger, or they feel like they're too broken or too beat up, I guess what is like one big piece of advice that you could give them? Can be big or small, but what's one piece of advice that you feel like would help them?
I know it sounds cliche, but age is just a number. I don't feel as old as I actually am. I saw a video on Facebook where these four individuals, I think it was two men and two women, were in their 90s, and they did a swim relay. And I was like, that's going to be me. That's what I want to do. When I'm in my 90s, I still want to be swimming and biking and running. But the secret to it is that you can't wait until you're older to do it. I was fortunate that the Air Force, I didn't have a choice. I had to stay in shape all of those years, and
Yep.
that became a habit. And
Yep.
so you have to make it a habit, and you have to start now. You can't wait until down the road. That's not to say that if you get down the road, it's not too late. It's never too late to start wherever you are. It's never too late to start, but do it now so that as you continue to age, you'll be that much further along and you'll be able to do it for a lot longer.
100%. It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was like 100 years ago. The second best time is today, right? It's
Exactly.
the earlier you can start taking care of yourself, the better. However, don't use that as an excuse to not take care of yourself today. So perfect. Okay. Well, I don't think it's going to get any better than that. So, again, appreciate you hopping on. And honestly, I think this is going to help a lot of people.